before we left, I took advantage of the Don Kyatt's workshop in Melbourne to get Milo looked at by an expert. After the trip down from Queensland, the old girl needed some new filters and hoses anyway, and all that stuff comes straight off the shelf at Terrain Tamer. A bloke might know his own truck inside and out, but it always pays to get another fella's opinion. They see things you don't. Gee, Alan knows his stuff, doesn't he, hey, when it comes to Toyotas? Truth.
Mate, he certainly does. He worked on the first Toyotas that came in for the Snowy Mountains for Thies Brothers. So so Al really loves these old cruisers as well.
I'll tell you what, mate. When it comes to parts, he's pretty much justified Terrain Tamer gear, hasn't he? Because, you know, it's truth. I know what this truck's been through.
Mate, well, Al's been with us for quite a while, and we know that all the work that we've done in developing and sourcing from overseas and that background work that no one ever sees,
yes.
We know that we can put the parts on your vehicle and you're not going to have a problem with it. We've done all the testing on our own. Guys like yourself are running all around the countryside with them on, and it's good to be able to sell a part and know that it's going to do the job that you've bought it for.
Well, when you look at it, I mean, I've had the whole front end replacement. Pretty much in terms of wearing components. It's had the discs, it's had bearings, it's had ball joints. They've all done 2 or 3 years, which for most people is not much at all. But in this truck, you know, you're talking Simpson Desert, Fraser Island, you're talking Western Australia, you're talking Lord knows how many Ks. You don't make speedos too, do you?
I think we might have to. But with the quality of the parts, we know a lot of guys fit their vehicles and away they go. You never hear from them again. And that's why where people go out and abuse them, and really give the vehicles a hard time, we know that we can sell the parts to them. They're not going to have a problem. They come back to us to buy parts for their other vehicles, and their mates come back, and it's just over a number of years. And we've been doing the four-wheel drive business now for quite a number of years, so it's something that we've built up over time, and the quality of it, it is really good where you can sell something, you know that the price is right, the part is right, and the quality of it, you're not going to have a problem with it, so it works really well. And like the warranties on the product, you know, 12 months. We put 2 years on our suspension products and that type of thing. Yeah. We know that the product works, and it really in the commercial side, we sell a lot of the product into the mining areas. So those guys, you think you give your vehicle some abuse, those guys are just out of control with what they do with some of their vehicles. And the parts stand up to that sort of test. So we've done all that testing, and the normal average guy running his vehicle around is never going to get to the sort of testing that those guys do. So we know that we can sell it, you know, with confidence. It's you know, it just goes out the door. It's really good. Oh yeah, it is. It's great stuff. I bet you can't replace those. Mate, what actually is that anyway? It's the handbrakes knickers, mate. Mind you, when they started out, it was about 6 foot long. But we won't go there. G'day. Well, we're back in Tasmania. We had to come back because everyone said we took the easy way out last time. But this time, boy, have we got some hard stuff lined up, eh?
We got 3 crazy Tasmanian local four-wheel drivers, and they've promised us a weekend of four-wheel driving we will never forget. I tell you what, there's going to be some awesome action. Come on, Glenn, it looks like they're getting into it. Short hand down a little bit. Our Tasmanian guides are Brian Imlack, Peter Cosmeadow and Peter Holman from Northwest Off-Road. All are members of the Devonport Four-Wheel Drive Club, and they're lifelong bush travel enthusiasts. They're winch fit too, kind of handy for what was to come, and the Northwest Off-Road 100 series is well modified to suit the local tracks. Jim Carlson and his mate Greg Bullivant brought along their new Outback tray topper on the back of a standard 79 series. They weren't out to test the truck, but were dead keen to push the tray topper to its limits.
Definitely not standard was the Shorty 40 the Terrain Tamer guys built up. Brett Lashmar and Dale Hadfield were crewing the 350 Chevy Beast and keen to prove the strength of the company's new range of recovery products. So they let editor Glenn drive the terrain tamer Toyota Prado, because apart from a 2-inch lift and tyres, the Prado was bog standard.
Terry Smith and Rob Van Driel came from Cooper Tyres, driving the modified Cooper Nissan Patrol Ute. Being a lifetime off-road enthusiast, Terry was keen to show off the benefits of strong sidewalled STT tyres in heavy timber country.
Desley Summerland brought the Mangali Patrol Ute to look after catering duties. Oh, we love camping with Desley. And finally, I drove down from Queensland in good old Milo, just to make sure one truck had survived. To think I was wearing shorts and a singlet hauling down the Newell. Oh, even in February, Tassie is beanie weather.
It all started off nice and gently, with nobody wanting to scratch the paintwork. Things didn't stay that way though.
We're heading into base camp here, an old loggers hut the local boys knew about. These tracks aren't well travelled, but we're easy enough so far, and we'd put in an order for some hard stuff. We kept baiting our mates about that, and they just kept smiling and looking the other way.
Good thing Brian, Cos and Pete knew the track, so we didn't have to walk these crossings. That water was very cold. Roothy made it over easy enough in Milo, but the mighty Prado was starting to float. In these conditions, I'm glad I had a full tank of fuel as ballast. Always a good idea if you've got the option before crossing a deep river like this. Without lockers, the Prado needed a bit of a boot to keep the momentum up. These clay riverbanks just get trickier with every vehicle.
With a couple of river crossings under our belt and all that rain, it looks like the big Chev's gone for a swim.
Did it just start missing when we went through that water, or? Oh, righto.
Well,
okay.
It was going all right, and then all of a sudden
Yeah, that sounds electrical. We'll have a bit of a listen.
Yeah, definitely electrical, guaranteed.
Oh, electrical for sure. Bit of water. Probably a bit of water in it.
Probably just a loose lead, I'd say. Problems inside the 8 pistons going up and down. It could be one of them, and more than likely electrically challenged, I would say.
Definitely electrical.
I don't care, I'm getting cold.
Well, I think we're looking at electrical.
Oh, it has to be an electrical problem, sure.
Electrical problems got the most likely vote. Everybody wants to be a bush mechanic.
Just give it a rev, see if it'll dry out.
Oh
no. No, that's a bit mechanical, I think.
Yeah, just look at the gaskets to see it's not...
That sounds like a stuck valve or... Oh boy, Milo to the rescue, eh?
Pull the lead a little bit off the plug and make the spark jump,
yeah.
and it cleans itself.
Do you want the hammer or the matches?
You'd think we had a bunch of Kiwis on this trip, the way the lads came out to sniff the Lanatec. I swear by this stuff, it normally fixes everything, including those squeaky hinges on the beer fridge at home.
Look at the gap on that, Glenn. Yeah. That electrode's just burnt itself right out.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the problem. There's no gap at all. There's a little bit of wire hanging, which is probably a bit of molten electrode, I'd say.
Pretty dirty, mate, isn't it? Needs a bit of a clean up. And like you say, the gap needs a bit of an adjustment.
I don't think there's much gap there. I think it's melted the centre electrode, but we'll give it a bash and we can always run back to town and pinch one out of someone's lawnmower or something.
I reckon we'll get it going, mate, with a bit of a clean up and a tweak.
Nah, definitely a spark plug.
I'm sort of starting to lean towards a spark plug myself.
Yeah, I'd say spark plug, you know. I think we've got to say it's a spark plug, don't we?
Definitely the spark plug. Yeah, definitely spark plug.
Yep, I knew what it was. It was definitely spark plug.
Oh, spark plugs, definitely spark plugs. Knew it all the time.
It's definitely that spark plug, and I'm still getting cold.
We've swapped the plugs over from one side to the other, cleaned up the leads. So if it's still mucking around on that cylinder, we'll know it's not a plug-related problem. But I think after that, it's probably time to go and get some plugs if we can.
Just a standard set of Holden plugs.
Yeah, Holden plugs or something. Anything that'll fit in the holes, mate. We'll get it to go. Right, a bit of bush stethoscope using a screwdriver to isolate the knocking noise. This works well with anything made of steel, but keep it out of the fan. Hang on, whoa, kill it! Milo's all metric, so we had to go digging for some imperial sockets to go diving into that Chev. Put the surgical gloves on.
We've isolated the noise to under this rocker cover, so it'll have to come off. Dale's looking worried at the thought of trackside surgery by Dr. Ruth.
Oh, I can see the problem.
Oh yeah, beauty.
Okay, no worries. Cool. Beauty. Look at that.
And that's come undone, is it?
I don't know what's
you busted
there.
the washer under it. It's pulled the bottom out of it.
It's pulled the bottom out of it?
It's busted. See it? It's torn the bottom out of the rocker.
You know, I'm sort of thinking that now we know what's wrong, we should just leave it out, put the rocker cover back on and run it on 7 cylinders.
We were all wrong. Looks like it was mechanical. This rocker on number 6 exhaust I reckon's broken due to metal fatigue, mate.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like metal fatigue to me. But you know, I mean, we've pulled it out. We've pulled the plug lead off. We've got 7 more cylinders. It's a big V8. I reckon someone will have to go to town for the parts though. I happen to notice the parts shop's right next to the pub. I'll do it. Let's go.
I think so, mate. Looks like it's got a whole bunch of Holden rockers on it, Roothy.
You know, I reckon we should give this a go. I think we could probably make one of those fit. A bit rusty, but they might work.
If anyone can do it, Roothy.
We'll see about that. Tell you what, mate. Look at that.
Striking resemblance to the broken one, Roothy.
Isn't it, eh? Well, we can't go past this. We're going to have to knock a couple off and... that'll be the drama,
Which one's the question, mate? Which one's the better one out of this lot of rusty rockers?
Yeah, well, look, this one's got a few bits missing.
Yeah,
some of them are rusted in the bottom. I think we'll just take these 2 end ones. These have been sitting up a bit, so the moisture's gone through the bottom. They haven't got puddles in them.
Bit of moss.
Bit of moss.
We're used to that.
What's the right colour? A good coat of lanolin. We've got to give it a try.
All right.
I thought I might be able to bang them off. Oh, no. Angle grinder. Angle grinder. I'll get it.
Some sparks. It's hard to believe that anything could be recycled off this old HT, but hey, at 4-wheel drive monthly, anything's possible.
Since I stuck that Cotec inverter in the back of Milo, I've started carting around power tools. Bloody useful too.
It's like brand new.
Mate, that's just like a bought one.
Bush mechanics at its best, Ruthie.
Yep, too right. Who'd have thought this thing would live again? While the mighty Chev powers on 7 cylinders regardless. Jim's up for his first challenge in that stock 79. No lockers? No way. Righto, winch it. It's an nice looking winch, this one, this terrain tamer winch. Nice big 3-pin brass plug that goes in the side so the water can't collect. That's excellent. And here in Tassie, we're giving it heaps of chances to collect water. The free spool mechanism worked quite nicely, no problems at all, and the handpiece is good. 9,500 pounds, let's give it a go.
I started to come up, I just nothing on the front, no traction on the front wheel, so just biting in at the back. Couldn't get up the hill.
You got the beer in the back, so we need you to be really careful. And the critical thing is, because we don't expect it to get up here, the track's got worse. Critical thing is to get the right angle at the bottom for the winch, which basically means you might have to come around that corner, have a go, and then roll backwards and get it straight. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, I do. So you want it straight up the tracks?
Yes, thanks. That'd be good.
Okay.
And don't, whatever you do, spill the beer.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Desley handed over the reins to Terry Tyres for this crossing.
It's all in the tyres, that's all it is. A bit of lower pressure and the right ones for traction.
Hidden in the midst of thick rainforest was the old loggers' hut that the Devonport 4-wheel drive club worked so hard to maintain. There were plenty of tall tales around the campfire that night as everybody put their 2 cents worth in on the terrain tamer shorty's woes.
Well, you know what, it looks to me like the lift has just jumped right out.
It's not where it used to be, is it?
No, it's not. It must be sitting in the valley there somewhere. Brett, this kind of chucks a slightly different light on it. I mean, we can pull it all to bits, we can pull the valley out, we can do all that, find that lifter, put it back in and sort it out. We know that rock is going to fit. But it's your call, mate, because it seemed to be going all right on 7. What do you want to do?
It's running on 7. We don't have the parts. It's not a terrain tamer part that's actually failed in it. We don't have the parts to pull the valley cover off and repair it. I can get the parts tomorrow. We can get them organised. Doesn't matter where we are in the country, we can get hold of the parts. So I think we'll run it on 7. It was running on 7 today. We made it through everything, so let's do that. We'll get all the parts together and then we can organise it tomorrow.
You just don't like the thought of me putting that old bit in your truck, do you?
Mate, when I saw that engine on the side of the road and you said you were going to put it in there, mate, it's a precision motor car. We don't...
Yeah, I could make it fit. It's all right.
It's not Milo, matey.
Milo hasn't broken anything yet, though, has she? Which means it hasn't been that tough. By crikey. I wish I hadn't said that in front of the locals. I'll tell you what, in a place like this, you want to do everything you can do to extend the joy of your 4-wheel driving. And that means you don't want to be sitting around with a busted motor or something else. I always use this Flash Lube diesel conditioner. I use it in every tank of fuel, to be honest, and the reason is because it cleans and it lubricates. Now, if you look inside a diesel injection system, you've got an awful lot of moving parts, and you've got some tiny little ones too, like the pintles in the injectors themselves, things like that. This stuff cleans them and it lubricates them. You really can't afford not to do it. It's cheap insurance, you know, a small bottle like this does 5 tankfuls in my case. But one of the things people don't consider is that with all the rocking around you do when you're seriously 4-wheel driving, you're shaking a lot of stuff loose all the time. I mean, apart from the dubious quality of the fuel, in my case, because I don't know where it came from half the time, you got all that rubbish floating around in the tank too. You add some Flash Lube, it's just cheap insurance, it's going to keep the truck humming along. In fact, if I could say anything was humming, it's definitely Milo. I think she loves this place as much as I do, fair dinkum. And boy, we've been having some fun. I don't want the fun to stop. This stuff, it'll make sure it doesn't. I've got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to today. The boys reckon we're going to try some tough stuff. I thought yesterday was tough enough, hanging off one wheel.
These Storn tyre deflators might have been designed for the beach, but they come in mighty handy when you're bogged in the mud like we are right now. They're great for letting the pressures down to a preset amount, so hopefully we can drive out of here.
Oh, mention the words tyre pressures and Terry's never far away.
With the Storn set at 16 psi, the heavily laden Prado was on the go again.
Mr. Smooth did just that. Smoothed the track out for the next bloke and did it easy himself. Whoops, next bloke's Jimbo in the tray back. Looks like a wedgie coming up for shore. With mates like this,
I can't wait to show the blokes this.
Who needs enemies?
A gentle tug was all it took to get Jim over the hump.
What do you reckon, Jimbo? We leave that terrain tamer strap on the front, I reckon.
Well, that's a bit rough. There's only a little hole.
No need for a strap on the shorty. It's all about approach and departure angles, isn't it?
Not long from camp, and the bush is getting thicker already. Even though this track's on the map, you'd get the idea our Tasmanian mates are using us to clear themselves another track.
Standard Tojo suspension is so short on travel compared to good aftermarket stuff, as Jim's finding out again and again.
Oh, not again.
Oh, what do you reckon, Jimbo? I think we should have left that gear on the front.
You might be right, but you shouldn't lead me down these steep gullies.
Okay, Terry, we're ready to go, mate. Just like last time again, just don't use the strap as a snatch strap, just use it more as a tow rope. So take up the tension and just go gently, mate.
Will do, Glenn.
Thick, dense bush soon kills the morning light, and we've got the lights on well before lunch.
Milo loves this sort of stuff. Up and over and away!
When Jim's on the approach, I grab a strap without even thinking by now.
Standard Toyotas are a really good thing, no mistake about that at all. But you can really see here where the standard trayback suspension goes all wrong. It's too stiff and there's not enough height in it. Just say another 50 mil of height and Jimbo would be cruising through a lot of this. Another little trick, the exhaust pipe keeps digging into the mud when she rolls backwards and the motor's cutting out. You know, be aware of that because quite often the mud will plug up the pot, you've got to unplug it with a stick. No worries, I reckon we whack some suspension under this when we get back, Jimbo.
Sounds like a good idea.
With stock springs, the trayback's too long and low for this sort of extreme off-roading, but there's not much damage and none at all to the Outback tray topper.
This is what it's all about. Low range crawling, and we're getting slower as the track gets harder. Glenn's keeping those wheels moving just enough under brakes to let the Prado still steer a little bit. Looks like Jimbo's learned about momentum in the mud because he's gunning it now. Oi, Greg, who's laughing now?
Thanks, boys.
Rock and roll there.
Hey, you wasn't going back there, mate. Can you find your way through?
Hey, mate, I'm pretty busy to talk, I tell you.
Watch it, mate. You're going to hit that tree.
Yeah, roger, thanks, mate.
This is crazy. You will never have so much fun on four wheels as you can down in Tasmania. I urge anybody with a four-wheel drive and a love of getting it dirty to get down here to Tassie and be a part of this. This is amazing stuff. These Tasmanians are crazy people, these four-wheel drivers, and we're bogged again. Hang on a second. Reverse. Let's get out of this bit. We're about to have to get the winch out, I think, because Roothy's up in front here and he's having to be winched around one of these massive logs that these guys have had to move out of the road. I can't describe in words what this is like. This is the ultimate rush. You've got to get down here.
Tracks don't get used much, they're pretty narrow and there's a lot of scrub hanging over them. You can see I'm ducking there behind a windscreen because there's a tree hanging over the front.
Hey Roothy, what's the road like up the hill there further, mate? It's getting a bit slippery here. We're still making progress, but how are you going up there?
Mate, we've just had 3 cracks of this. First time rolled up, got about 3/4 of the way up. Second time went up with a bit of ball and rockers in on both sides and got about the same distance. And third time, no way at all. I'm just sliding backwards. I'm looking for somewhere to turn. We've got as far as we can go, Glenno.
All right, mate. The mighty Prado might have to call it a day as well. If Milo can't make it up there with all its lockers, we might bail out before we do some damage.
Yeah, Terry's rolling back. He's coming back to the corner. He's having trouble getting up.
Go back.
bit more. Are you over it now? A bit more. Oh, we got about 3/4 of the way up the track here. Just lost traction. So we thought we'd roll it back down, get another run at it. Jimmy's missed his log and we got 2 wheels over the other side of the log, so we're up on that. So then we need a little bit of help.
Whoa, we've been having fun, no worries, but things have gotten very serious very quick. So we've left Desley back at camp, and Jimbo will be turning back soon in that standard cruiser. Talking standard, I'm worried about Gleno dinging the Prado, but he hasn't stopped laughing all morning. This will be Max Trax territory soon, too tight for snatching. Jimbo, the trick with these things is just to walk onto them real slow and let the lugs bite into your tyres.
Yep.
We've put them under the rear. This is a bit new for me too, to be honest. Haven't tried them on mud up a slope like this with all this weight, but we'll give them a go, see if they work, eh?
Righto.
Just try and walk her up.
Let's have a shot.
Good on you, mate. To use something like this in a situation like that, it's the sort of thing you can use when you're on your own. You don't need any other vehicles coming through or anything. And now we've tried them on sand, we've tried them in the mud. We know they work. They're a really good thing, really cheap insurance if you're travelling on your own or even if you're travelling with a crew of people. These Max Trax are good.
Too easy!
We're finding the limits of the almost standard Prado now. Dale hoops a thick tree with a tree trunk protector. We always look after the bush because we want to come back. Note the shackle is a rated unit too, and Dale's tightening it up and then backing it off half a turn so it doesn't bind. The winch hook is a good fit over the pin. And on goes the cable dampener. There's a couple of tons of Prado hanging off this cable, so safety's the big issue, and everybody's well clear. It always should be whenever you pull a recovery like this. This mud's like thick porridge, and we're just churning it up.
It looks clear now, guys. I think I can drive out of here.
Take one look at Terry in the patrol and you can see the difference big tyres, ground clearance and lockers make. With mud, it's all about keeping your boot down and sticking to the ruts.
Mud's not the only obstacle on this track. Watch out for low-flying logs. Definitely a job for a Tasmanian.
There's a track here somewhere. How tough is this getting? Whoops, there goes another sticker on Milo. and we thought this was heavy going.
I don't know about this bridge, Roothy, but I can't see Milo travelling across here.
Mate, this one's rotten to the core. I wouldn't push the spare wheel across this. Is there another way?
Mate, we may have to go down through the river.
Okay, well, it's got to be better than falling into it.
These old tracks are dotted with signs of more regular use, but they're not always useful. It's only us four-wheel drivers who do any maintenance at all to keep them open these days.
So it's around the bridge we go, but halfway through the river crossing, Milo hooked up on a rock. She wasn't going anywhere. I was okay with this until the lads pointed out that the river was rising real quick. Better get her off that rock before Milo becomes a permanent part of Tasmania's heritage. Right, well, now I've shown the lads how not to do it, the crossing's pretty easy.
You've got to love the sound of big V8 motors. Makes me want to get my Rangy finished as soon as possible. Might not bother painting it though.
The winching's on thick and fast now as the track turns from slop to bog. Oh well, the terrain tamer boys wanted their recovery gear tested. This should do it.
Clutch doesn't like any more of that. Time to winch it. Okay, everybody's safe, out of the way of the winch cable. Start winching, Dale. Oh boy, don't tell the wife you're taking the family Prado down to Tassie for the week. Having said that, this one's done bloody well so far.
You guys are just taking too long. What we've decided to do, because we're already over the top of the hill, we're going to hook up 3 or 4 snatch straps here and pull from the top. So we'll pull each of the vehicles over through this tricky bit. It's more to do with time. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. We've got at least one more hill just like this, so we really need to get them over, and this is what we're going to do. Bit of pendulum effect over the hills.
Righto, we're hooked up. This is how the locals improvise a quick hitch when things get tough, as long as the stick's thick enough.
Okay, keep well clear.
That was one hell of a winching effort, but it just got us enough out of the sloppy stuff so we could drive the Prado out the rest of the way.
Don't get tempted to run out too much winch cable. When the pressure's on, you need to remember to leave at least 8 loops on the drum or more, and remember that whatever the length of cable or strap you've got under pressure is about how far you need to be out of the road. Seeing how easily Pete used the Dynamica rope on his 100 compared to the heavy steel cable pretty much convinced me that rope's the go. I might have to string Milo up when we get home, if we get home.
Dale couldn't find a tree, so he just pulled Brett up Superman style. Look, there's a lot of things happening here that we don't recommend. Always wear gloves. We were desperate, we were stuck, and the clock was ticking. Not good excuses later maybe, but on that day...
Not even lockers and heaps of horsepower could make distance here. Terry's patrol winch got all wound up wrong under the pressure of so many winches, so we tried plucking it out with Milo because we knew we'd need it again and again.
We used every possible combination of strap, cable and chain to take advantage of every little bit of half-decent traction.
Even cool, calm Cooperman was looking worried about the obstacles ahead. More tree art, please, Brian.
Out, Pete. Our Tassie mates get to do a lot of log rolling, and they're definitely the experts at shifting big trees, using slip, slide and balance. They made this hook especially for the job.
Dale looks pretty excited at the prospect of another winch. Come on, mate, that's only 40 or so in the last hour, isn't it? Did we say we wanted tough? I've never put Milo up anything this hard since we started doing these trips. We're all still going, but I don't know what the night will bring.
Righto, Roothy. Up around the outside, mate. That's it.
Milo only wanted to go one way. Something's wrong.
Unless it's just this tree. Well, it's not steering. It's just not steering to the right at all. You've got a steering problem now. Like it's not. Oh well. I don't know what's going on here. It wouldn't steer at all to the right-hand side. Poor old Milo there. She was just doing left and no right. But all of a sudden it's doing it. So we'll have to have a look at it later at camp. I think it's getting a bit late. This is great fun. It's not your fault. I'm doing so well. Never mind.
It's the very bottom, mate. If you have a look and see it squashed, just on your side. Just when we thought we were nearly there without too much injury, I snagged a log that shook the Prado from end to end.
I'll just manoeuvre this out the road.
We'll be right. We'll find some water.
Watch your back, mate. Okay, now we pull this a bit further.
We were just patting ourselves on the back for how far we'd got this pretty much standard Prado family wagon through some of this wild West Tasmanian rainforest and things, but unfortunately a really big log which was covered in moss and hidden into the rest of the road has punctured the radiator, the plastic radiator core, and we're just working now on a way to try and get this thing out of here because we've got a lot of hard country ahead of us to get back to camp tonight, so let's see what we can do about it, hey?
I've pushed it around a fair bit and we've lost a fan blade, the shrouds and punched back, but the hydraulic lines are intact, the radiator hoses are intact, and we've just got one rather major crack down the bottom here, so if we try running it under no pressure with the radiator cap off, and I can get this blocked up with enough silicone and tape, we might be right.
The water's a bit dirty, but it's going to have to do us, mate. The sun's going down, let's fill this thing up, hey?
That's it. Hey, you're back.
Well, mate, 20 litres of semi-clear water.
Oh, good. Excellent. Righto. Well, the silicone should have set by now.
Okay.
With a bit of luck.
Thanks, Rob.
We'll run it without the cap.
That'll do it.
Gee, that's good looking water. That should block up the hole all on its own.
I think so. It's got to do us the trick.
Well, if we run it without the cap, it'll have no pressure and, you know, it might get us over the next hill. We've only got about 4 kilometres to go.
Yeah, we'll be right.
4Ks are the toughest track in the world. That's fantastic.
What happened there, John?
Oh, mate, she's stuffed now. It's broken.
What is it? The steering's locked up?
Oh, CV's completely mashed.
God.
It's not steering. It's not driving.
Well,
Milo's not going anywhere.
You asked for it tough, mate.
I got it tough. This is the toughest trip we've ever had.
It's the best fun I've ever had, but how are we going to top this one?
I don't know, mate. 3 days in deck chairs in Noosa. How does that sound?
Don't know if it's us.
I'll tell you what, Milo's not going anywhere, but the Explorer fridge is still working.
You got the fridge?
I've got the fridge. You get the tools, I'll get the beers.
No worries, mate.
Good on you, mate. Here we are. It's about, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Look at that for a bit of CV. It's absolutely cactus. Anyway, we just about got it back together. I've got no chance of replacing the CV because the axle's stuffed too. But Rob and Terry are here with me, and you know, we'll get through. We'll get through probably tomorrow morning, I'd say. It's a bit dark now, and we keep hearing on the radio that the boys are still winching, so I reckon it could be a good night to just get into the fridge.
20 hours later, having winched all night and skull dragged the now dead Prado for most of it, Pete's 100 series was still going strong.
No power steering, mate?
No, not really.
Got Armstrong steering.
Oh, I've been Armstrong steering since what time was it? About 7 p.m? 13 hours. Thanks for asking. We couldn't have got out without local knowledge and a damn fine local truck. Roothy was trying to help us out by staying behind, but little did anyone know what that night held.
Welcome to Roothy's Ruthless Tales. Go on, grab a slice of fair dinkum, Australia. Get your dose of Roothy and put a smile on your dial.